Miraculous divine intervention, the angel revealing God's shocking judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah, in the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, when the land was rife with sin and the cries of wickedness reached the heavens. There lay the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, nestled in the fertile plains of Jordan. These cities, once thriving with abundance, had become a foul stench in God's nostrils, a testament to the depths of depravity within. Their wickedness had woven itself into the very fabric of life and reached the ears of the Almighty, prompting divine action. As darkness fell upon the cities, 2 angels of the Lord descended, their countenances radiant yet grave with the task bestowed upon them. They came to Sodom, knowing well the evil that ruled there. In the midst of this moral decay, Lot, the nephew of Abraham, recognized them as messengers of God. Surrounded by the shadows of immorality, his heart quickened in recognition of the danger the angels faced. He implored them, "Turn in, I pray you, into my house," knowing full well what awaited them if they remained in the streets. With urgency, he guided the angels to his modest dwelling, offering them the hospitality of a humble meal, bread made with his own hands, while the outer darkness thickened around them. Shadows conspired against innocence, as outside Lot's door, the wicked men of the city gathered, driven by base desires and unleashed lust. Their voices swelled in a rancorous tide, demanding the strangers be brought out. Innocent lives poised on the cleft of calamity. In desperation, Lot mustered the last shreds of his courage. "Take my daughters instead," he implored, in a twisted attempt to appease the furious mob that threatened to breach his door. But their depravity had drowned reason, and they turned their ire upon Lot, demanding he surrender the divine visitors. Just as chaos threatened to consume them all, the angels intervened with authority unknown to man, smiting the lecherous crowd with blindness, a crystal-clear warning of divine displeasure. As twilight surrendered to dawn, the angels urged Lot to flee. "Escape for your lives. Do not look back," they commanded, fear coursing through Lot's veins as he gathered his wife and daughters, the weight of judgment heavy upon them. With each hurried step, they dashed through the streets wrought with temptation, the first light illuminating the horrors that were to come. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As they fled the city, the wrath of God erupted in the skies above. Flames rained down, ash and sulfur consuming what was once a stronghold of sin. Yet amidst the frenetic escape, Lot's wife, gripped by sorrow for her former life, dared to look back, and in that moment, her fate was sealed, transformed into a pillar of salt, a haunting reminder of what was lost. With every breath, Lot and his daughters pressed onward, hearts heavy with the weight of destruction left behind. What lay ahead remained enshrouded in uncertainty. As the smoke curled heavenward, a silent question lingered in Lot's heart: would God's mercy extend to them who had dwelled in such sin? The promise of safety shimmered like a beacon, yet each step echoed the deeper choices they must now face. What awaited them in the shadows beyond Sodom? The dawn promised escape, but the cost of faithfulness hung heavily in the air, beckoning them into an unknown future. As the sun broke over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and red, Lot and his daughters continued their flight from the wrathful destruction that consumed Sodom and Gomorrah. The echoes of horror and despair fell away, swallowed by the tumult of judgment that rained down. Yet, as they moved further from the cities, an unsettling silence filled their hearts, a grief mingled with the dread of uncertainty of what lay ahead. With each stride, Lot felt the stinging pangs of loss for what he had sacrificed: his home, his possessions, and most grievous of all, his beloved wife. The weight of her fate pressed upon him like a heavy shroud. She was a reminder of the danger of disobedience to God's command. But hope was not extinguished through the shadows. The promise of deliverance beckoned forth. "Where shall we go now?" questioned his eldest daughter, her voice trembling with the fear and confusion that swirled like the fog around them. "All we have known is now consumed in ashes." will the Lord provide for us? Lot paused, lifting his gaze to the heavens as if seeking counsel. The Almighty had granted them a chance to escape, but the path ahead remained veiled in mystery. We must go to the mountains, for it is there that the Lord may lead us to shelter, he replied, firming his resolve. As they traversed the barren landscape, memories flooded Lot's mind, recalling the vibrant images of better days in Sodom. Yet, a voice echoed gently yet sternly within him, the voice of God, reminding him that the allure of earthly comforts can lead only to destruction. Their journey through these desolate lands mirrored their hearts, stripped of the sins they were once ensnared by, yet still yearning for hope. Upon reaching a higher ground, a valley lay before them, appearing exalted and appealing in comparison to the ruins they had fled. Lot turned to his daughters and offered, "Let us seek refuge among the hills that lie ahead. I fear the mountains may be harsh, but they can offer us safety from the wrath that pursues us." They pressed onward, ascending to a small town named Zor. In the distance stood the remnants of Sodom, tending to their wound cities, now vacant echoes of sin. Once they reached their designated sanctuary, Lot fell to his knees, beseeching the Lord for mercy and guidance. "O Lord, you have spared us from destruction, grant us now the strength to move forward in faith, to find favor in your eyes amidst the desolation we have seen." The angels, still lingering in the air like a whispered promise, waited to see what Lot would choose next, for the decisions made now would ripple through the ages. Lot's faith would not go unnoticed. It was a frail flicker of light in a vast darkness. As they settled into the unknown, divine whispers flickered through the valleys, revealing a glint of God's purpose hovering just beyond their reach. What plan would unfold for those who had witnessed such destruction? As night fell, ominous clouds gathered above, and a tremor passed through the ground beneath them. A rumble in the heavens drew their attention upward, for the Lord's hand was still at work. Little did they know, the story was far from over, it was only just beginning. The divine narrative of hope and judgment would lead them into a future entwined with promises yet unfulfilled. But what awaited them in the unfolding of God's sovereign plan? Only time would reveal the unimaginable grace that was about to take shape. As dawn broke on the horizon, a faint light seeped through the Israelites, casting gentle rays upon the weary travelers. Lot rose from his place of prayer, the heaviness in his heart stirred by an uncertain hope. To his daughters, who lingered close, he offered a weary smile, signaling the time had come to press further into their new reality. "Gather what little provisions we have," he instructed, his voice steady despite the weight of grief that lingered, "for the Lord shall guide us to a place of promise if we remain faithful." They set forth into the unyielding terrain, their steps muted on the ashen ground. The valley now offering sanctuary bore witness to the remnants of divine consequence. Lot turned his eyes often toward the ruined cities, feeling the bittersweet pangs of nostalgia, yet aware that the Lord had called them to a new destiny, a life stripped of the old sins. As they journeyed, whispers of wind carried the faintest echoes of judgment, calls of anguish that reverberated in the depths of Lot's soul. The destruction was not solely physical but deeply spiritual, a testament to the folly of those who shunned God's ways. "O Lord," Lot whispered, "let us learn from that which has been lost, let us not return to folly." In the distance, a figure appeared upon the path, a traveler, cloaked in dust and starlight. Lot's heart quickened with apprehension, for he knew that even in desolation, the divine may choose to reveal itself in unexpected ways. As the figure drew near, the light illuminated the likeness of an angel, a radiant messenger from the Lord. "Fear not, Lot," the angel spoke, his voice resonating through the ethereal silence that clung to the air. "I have been sent to comfort you and to reveal unto you the plans of the Almighty." Lot knelt upon the ground, eyes wide with a mixture of terror and awe. "What shall you tell me? Is there yet more destruction ahead? More judgment to come?" The angel's countenance softened, his reply a gentle balm. "The Lord has heard your cries and seen your heart. Though judgment fell upon Sodom and Gomorrah, a remnant shall be preserved. For from the ashes of desolation, hope shall rise." The daughters gasped in unison, clasping one another's hands tightly. Lot's heart raced, for he understood that this was not merely a promise of survival, but a foretelling of a lineage yet to come, a legacy intertwined with divine purpose. Your journey is not in vain, the angel continued. Look upon the world, it will continually reside in shadows, but those who seek the Lord shall find shelter in him. Stand strong and be watchful, for the Lord shall birth forth a great nation from the remnants of faith, even through you and your daughters. With each word, the angel imparted a radiant warmth that enveloped the family, providing a glimpse of hope amid their despair. Yet, like the flickers of distant stars, a sense of urgency flowed through his pronouncement. But beware, for the ways of men are often crooked, many will falter and turn back onto the old paths. Keep your hearts grounded in truth, lest you too become ensnared. As the angel ascended back into the air, a divine light enveloping him, Lot felt his spirit lifted as if the very heavens had opened. He turned to his daughters, who were still wide-eyed in wonder. What we have witnessed today is but the beginning. The Lord's plan unfolds even in the midst of ashes. We must trust and seek his ways, for life and faith intertwine. The landscape once barren now shimmered with the promise of renewal, a testament that beyond destruction lies the dawn of a new covenant, blessed in divine grace, and in the silence that followed, a whisper echoed, stirring their hearts with anticipation. What greater purpose awaited them, entwined in the annals of God's unchanging plan? Only in seeking the Lord would they unravel the mysteries held within the fabric of their destinies yet to come. And as the sun continued its ascent, the travelers made their way with renewed spirits beneath the broad sky. Lot felt the presence of the Lord thick upon them, guiding their feet upon the path that led away from despair and into the unknown. His heart, once heavy with sorrow, now beat with a rhythm of conviction, buoyed by the angel's words. Let us walk with purpose, Lot urged his daughters. For every step we take is a testament to our faith, and we will not falter. The Lord has set our course amidst the ruins, and in him, we shall find our dwelling. As they journeyed, they moved through valleys lush with wildflowers, a stark contrast to the desolation left behind. Miriam, Lot's eldest daughter, turned to him, her voice filled with a tremor of curiosity. Father, what shall we do when we find this new land? What is the calling that the Lord has for us? It shall be revealed in due time, Lot replied, a comforting strength resonating between them. Our obedience shall unveil his purpose. For the Lord creates beauty even from ashes. Remember the promise: great nations are birthed from faithfulness, and your lives are woven into that fabric. They encamped that evening near a gently flowing stream, the sounds of water singing sweet notes that echoed the joy of life renewed. And as they settled with a modest meal, Lot sought the Lord in prayer, earnestly asking for guidance and clarity once more. Then a gentle whisper emanated through the stillness of the night, stirring in Lot's spirit. Arise, my faithful servant, and look beyond your fleshly time, for I shall show you that which your eyes cannot yet see. As Lot opened his eyes, an inner vision unfolded before him, a landscape unseen yet radiantly vivid, vast expanses stretching far beyond the mortal realm. He beheld the promise of a land flowing with milk and honey, and he saw scattered seeds of hope, planted in the lives of those who would yet follow the path of righteousness. Your legacy shall not languish, the voice promised. For from your daughters shall arise the hopes of generations yet born, and through them, the lineage of faith shall flourish. Know this, my unseen hand works tirelessly to weave together a story of redemption that will transform nations. Overwhelmed, Lot raised his voice in worship, a song of gratitude escaping his lips. His daughters turned to him, sensing the weight of divine revelation resting on their father's heart. What do you see, father? Ruth inquired, her eyes wide with anticipation. I see what the Lord has unveiled. Lot exulted. A land of promise awaits us, and from us shall spring forth the seeds of nations. We must remain steadfast, for the Lord's hand is upon our journey, and nothing will be lost in his purpose. The air shimmered around them, filled with an energy that transcended the struggles of mere mortals. The divine assurance felt palpable, saturating the night with a profound peace, yet, as quickly as joy filled their hearts, the subtle winds ushered whispers of caution. Be vigilant, the voice had cautioned. The shadows of ancient sins beckon from beyond the valley, and not all who bear witness shall follow the light. In your hearts, store the truths I have revealed, for the trials ahead may expose the frailty of man's resolve. Forge your unity in prayer, for through this bond, the mysteries of the Lord shall guide you. With that promise echoing in their minds, they nestled down into their makeshift beds, dreams tinged with divine intention embracing them. The promise of nations stirred within their souls, and yet, an unsettling tension lingered. A divine test awaited, one that would forge their destinies through trials designed by the Lord himself, and as they drifted into a restful slumber, a thought clawed at Lot's mind. The depth of their faith would soon be unveiled, but would they stand firm in the face of trials, ready to fulfill the sovereign plan of God? Only the dawn would reveal what lay ahead, and in this uncertainty, a greater narrative began to unfold. What would be required to bloom amidst the shadows? The answer lay in the sacred promise they now carried in their hearts. As dawn broke over the horizon, golden rays filtered through the leaves, awakening the world with renewed brightness. Lot stirred, his heart still heavy with the weight of divine revelation, yet buoyed by the promise of greater things. He looked to his daughters, who still slept, their faces softened in the light of the morning sun. With a heart full of faith, he kneeled beside the stream, lifting his voice in supplication once more. Lord of all creation, let your will unfold before us, he prayed earnestly. Reveal that which is necessary for us to traverse this wilderness of uncertainty. Teach us to seek your wisdom and to trust wholly in your plan. As he prayed, the waters of the stream began to ripple softly, echoing through the stillness of the dawn. Suddenly, the atmosphere stirred, charged with a presence that sent shivers of reverence through him. The air thickened as the angel of the Lord appeared, radiant with a glory that shone brighter than the sun itself. Fear not, Lot, for you have been chosen to bear witness, the angel spoke, the voice both commanding and gentle. The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah has risen to heaven, and their abominations have reached the ears of the Lord. Judgment shall be executed, yet you and your household are to be spared. With terror gripping his heart, Lot's thoughts raced. But Lord, what of the righteous within those cities? Are we to abandon them, those who yet uphold your name amidst the tide of wretchedness? The fate of the cities is sealed, the angel replied. Yet for the sake of the righteous, a remnant shall be preserved. You are to flee this place, for the wrath of the Lord is upon them, and nothing can stay his hand. Lot, filled with dread and hope, processed the gravity of the message. His daughters slowly awakened, their eyes widening with the ethereal light surrounding the angel. What is this, Father? Miriam asked, her voice an echo of fear. What has been revealed? The Lord has declared the judgment upon those cities of sin, Lot replied, his voice trembling. We are to flee, for destruction shall come swiftly upon Sodom and Gomorrah. Is there no recourse? Ruth cried out, her heart breaking for the friends and families they would be leaving behind. Only obedience holds the key to our deliverance, Lot urged them gently. We must prepare ourselves. Gather what is most precious, for we shall not look back. The urgency hit them like a sudden storm, and they scrambled to gather their belongings. Uprooted emotions surged through them, the joy of new promise mingling with the pain of severed ties. Lot's heart ached for the city he had once called home, a refuge now wrapped in shadows of debauchery and despair. As they hurried forth, the angel's voice echoed, a final command echoing in their hearts. Escape for your lives. Do not look back, nor stay anywhere in the plain, flee to the mountains, lest you be swept away. The words ignited resolve within them. They clung tightly to one another, their unity becoming a fortress against the impending storm. Lot led the way, guided by faith, moving swiftly toward the mountains that loomed like beacons of hope against the impending doom, yet as they neared their destination, a thought gripped Lot's spirit. What if the darkness of Sodom had seeped into their hearts? What if the trials ahead were to test not only their endurance but their very faith in the promises of God? And he pondered the weight of divine mercy that had carried them thus far. In that moment, the clouds overhead began to darken, a sign of the turmoil to come. The Lord's judgment was swift and unyielding, yet amidst it all, a greater mystery remained: what would become of those who remained in the wickedness of the city? As the ground trembled beneath their feet, an unresolved question lingered in Lot's heart: could the seeds of righteousness planted in the soil of despair blossom even in the wake of destruction? Only God knew the final chapter of his sovereign plan, and they pressed on with a hope ignited by faith, ever mindful of the one who judges righteously. As they ascended the rugged terrain, the air thickened with a foreboding chill that seemed to weave around them, gripping their hearts with dread. The mountains loomed, a sanctuary against the coming storm, yet with each step, the distance between them and Sodom felt like an eternity. Lot cast a back glance toward the city, a swirl of emotions clouding his mind. The hearts of his daughters were heavy with sorrow, layers of grief shadowing their steps. "Miriam, Ruth," he urged, "the time for fear must yield to faith. The Lord's hand is upon us, guiding our feet away from the ashes of what was." In his spirit, however, unease loomed. Were they truly free from the taint of Sodom? Had its wickedness intertwined with their souls? The sun hung low, cloaked in thickening clouds, casting an ominous twilight across the landscape. And then, the silence was shattered by a great rumbling, as if the earth itself were groaning beneath the weight of iniquity. Lot could feel the tremors in his bones, a divine echo of what was to come. "We must press on," he declared, wrestling with the very doubts that surged from his heart. Suddenly, the angel's voice arrived again, clear and sharp amid the din of nature's turmoil: "Hold fast, for the promise of protection is upon you. Do not be entangled by the burdens of regret or doubt." "Father," Miriam whispered, her eyes wide with fear, "what if we are not enough? What if we lose sight of what lies ahead?" "We are enough," Lot affirmed, "for God sees not as man sees, and he has set apart for us a path of deliverance. Remain steadfast and trust in his purpose." The fire of his words ignited a flicker of hope in their hearts, yet, as they continued upward, the sky darkened further, and the air crackled with tension. With each passing moment, a storm brewed not just of wind and rain, but of divine judgment. The soft echo of distant weeping slid through the air, a haunting reminder of those left behind. "What of our neighbors?" Ruth asked, her voice trembling. "What of our friends? How can we bear to run while they are rooted in despair?" "Trust the Lord," Lot replied, weary yet resolute. "The righteous shall not be forsaken." Perhaps even now, as these events unfold, the hearts of men might yet be turned. We are not privy to his understanding, but God knows each soul and can bring forth hope from destruction. Believe in his mercy. At that moment, clarity dawned upon Lot. Though their feet were motioning toward escape, their hearts were intertwined with the lives they were leaving behind. The thought weighed heavily as they reached the summit, where the mountains crested against the heavens. Standing silent in witness to the turmoil below, the air became sharper, filled with anticipation of the unfolding drama, as the ground quaked violently beneath them. Lot, breathless yet unwavering, suddenly turned to his daughters: "Look not back, for what remains in Sodom is not of our concern. We carry the light of salvation, we must witness and testify to his mercy." As they stood together, poised at the precipice of destiny, the skies split, and the first sounds of destruction reverberated through the valley. Fire and brimstone began to rain down, as Lot's heart sank with the weight of sorrow for what was lost and the justice served. Yet deep within him pulsed a knowing, a stirring of divine truth yet to be revealed. Could it be, amidst the fiery rains and the cries of despair, that God had woven a greater narrative? The remnants of sorrow would become stepping stones for a greater covenant. And indeed, could the might of God's judgment become the cradle for his redemptive promise? Thus, under the grim shadows of impending destruction, Lot and his daughters stood together in faith, knowing that while judgment was swift, so too would be the arrival of God's purpose. For even in devastation, hope whispered its eternal truth, and the path of righteousness blossomed anew, waiting to be revealed. As the heavens erupted with fire and brimstone, the very earth trembled beneath the weight of divine retribution. Lot stood at the precipice, his daughters clinging to his sides as the skies wept flames and the city of Sodom was consumed in judgment. A bitter wind swirled around them, carrying screams, a sound of despair mingled with the cries of souls lost to sin. Yet amidst the chaos, he felt the distinct stirring of something more significant, a call that beckoned beyond the ruins of the city below. "Father!" Ruth grasped his hand tightly, her voice shaking. "What if the remembrance of our life there draws us back? Can we truly flee the shadow of Sodom?" "Do not let the past pull you into despair," Lot responded solemnly, his gaze scanning the destruction. "The Lord has spared us. Look, even now, He makes a way for us in the midst of calamity." He remembered the promise how God had sent angels to guide them, as He had promised to preserve the remnant of the righteous. The girls, still youthful yet seasoned by the brutality of Sodom's fate, shared a glance, a heartbeat of understanding passed between them. They stood, trembling not just from the chill of the wind but from the urgent, piercing truth of their father's words. The weight of loss clung heavily to their souls, yet Lot knew that the price of salvation was steep, heavier than the ashes that now billowed upward from the cities of wickedness. "Consider how Lot's wife once lingered," he cautioned, fearing the temptation of nostalgia might ensnare them. "She turned back, desiring what was lost, and became a monument of the consequences of indecision." His heart ached for her, a deep well of sorrow for the soul who could not detach from the land of sin, now forever a pillar of salt, a stark warning to those who would hesitate. At this, the wind shifted, and a supernatural calm fell momentarily upon them. As if orchestrated by some celestial conductor, reveled within the balance of destruction and deliverance, an angel appeared, radiant with the glory of the Almighty. His presence forged a sacred bond, captivating their troubled hearts and binding their fears. "Fear not," the angel proclaimed, his voice reverberating like thunder wrapped in tenderness. "For the Lord has remembered Abraham, and through you shall this divine heritage be established. Your future holds promise beyond measure. You will be the keepers of a covenant destined to bring forth nations." Lot felt renewed hope welling within him, for he had carried these burdens, these unspoken dreams of his father's legacy upon his heart. "But how?" he implored, his voice trembling. "How can this be born out of ashes?" "From the remnants of the fallen," the angel replied, "God will build anew. The hearts of your daughters hold the keys of the promise. Though this world may perish, the righteous are entrusted to sow forth His blessing." As these words sunk into Lot's spirit, a vision burst forth, a land flowing with milk and honey, a seed of promise sprouting from desolation itself, and the voice of the Lord echoing, "I will bless those who bless you, and through you, all families of the earth shall be blessed." Together they turned to face the horizon, not forgetting the past, but letting it guide their understanding of God's unyielding mercy. Indeed, judgment was pronounced, yet love wrapped tightly around like a cloak of protection. Hope arose from the ashes, rekindling the flickering flames of faith as they pressed forward, and yet, the question lingered in the depths of Lot's heart, urging forth revelation. If futures were being forged from destruction, what new covenant might arise from their faithfulness? The dawn of a new era awaited just beyond their horizon, shrouded in divine mystery, and the path of redemption awaited their footsteps. For even in the shadow of calamity, the sovereignty of God wove an unbreakable tapestry, revealing that with every ending, there lay an undeniable beginning, waiting patiently to unfold into His grand unfolding drama. As dawn broke, the distant echoes of judgment faded into the horizon, leaving in its wake a trembling stillness. Lot and his daughters cautiously advanced away from the smoldering remains of Sodom. Their hearts were heavy, yet the promise of God had ignited a flicker of hope in Lot's spirit. "Father," Ruth ventured, breaking the silence, "the angel spoke of nations yet to be born. What must we do to prepare ourselves for this calling?" Lot considered her words, pondering the weight of responsibility resting upon their shoulders. "We must seek the Lord with all our hearts," he replied, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "We will travel to a land where His promise flourishes, a land yet unknown to us." As they journeyed, they crossed the plains, and the landscape began to shift. The arid ground beneath their feet showed signs of life, a glimmer of green amidst the desolation. Trees adorned with budding fruit stood as a testament to the providence of God, and a gentle brook babbled nearby, offering sustenance for weary souls that in their hearts, a fire was kindling, a desire to reclaim the divine heritage that lay before them. Encouraged by the presence of the Almighty that lingered in the air, they sought a place to rest. Lot, reflecting upon the vision he had received, prayed fervently, asking for guidance. "Lord, grant us wisdom," he murmured. "Teach us the ways of righteousness as we hold tightly to your covenant." The days passed, and the road wound beneath their feet. It wasn't long before they came upon a hill that overlooked the valleys below, where fertile land stretched as far as the eye could see. Lot raised his arms, his voice trembling with awe. "Surely this is the land promised to us, where rivers lift the heart and the air sings of your glory." As they gazed upon the beauty of creation, the words of the angel echoed within Lot, reverberating in the very marrow of his being, "From the remnants of the fallen, God will build anew." In that moment, Ruth spoke, "What then, Father, shall we call our new home? What will be the name of the place where we will cultivate this promise?" Suddenly, a shadow crossed the sun, and they turned to see another figure approaching, a man wandering, worn and weary. Lot's heart quickened, and he approached the stranger with a spirit of hospitality. "Come, friend," Lot said, offering the traveler water and bread. "What tidings bring you from beyond the horizon?" The traveler looked into Lot's eyes, and a spark ignited. There was something familiar in the depths of those wise orbs. "I seek refuge from the calamity that has befallen my kin," the man replied, anguish etched across his face. "I hail from the cities of the plain, and I have heard of your escape, of a family that witnessed the hand of God at work." Lot held his breath, sensing the weight of destiny moving in unseen patterns. "You have fled from the despair of Sodom, yet God speaks of a future built upon hope through us. What is your name, and what do you seek?" "I am Zor," the stranger declared, "and though my city was spared, I felt the call of righteousness beckon me forth. The whispers of the Almighty lead my steps, for there is a work to be done." In that exchange, a profound understanding began to unfold. Lot realized that God's providence was extending beyond their small family, knitting together ragged lives into a rich tapestry of his design. By divine appointment, they came together, a remnant now not merely of blood but of faith, bound to illuminate the perils of moral failure and to herald the dawn of a new covenant sprinkled with grace. The winds of heaven stirred gently among them, as they considered what lay ahead, the promise of nations resting not just upon their shoulders, but upon the hope woven into every heart that heeded God's call. What new heights might they climb together? And what extraordinary plans awaited them just beyond the veil of their understanding, plans divinely rooted in the very foundation of creation itself? Yet an unease curled softly around Lot's heart, awakening questions yet unanswered. If salvation birthed from ashes was indeed their charge, what trials would pave the way to God's ultimate purpose? As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting golden hues across the serene landscape, Lot, Ruth, and Zor gathered by the brook, sharing the bread and drink in a sacred moment of fellowship. The air was thick with anticipation, and Lot felt the latent power of the Almighty pulsating through the earth beneath them. Ruth leaned closer to Zor, her curious gaze piercing through the layers of pain and history etched upon his face. "Tell us more of the cities you fled," she urged. "What was their fate? What lessons lie in their ashes?" Zor hesitated, the memories like shadows flickering in his mind. The stench of sin hung heavily in Sodom and Gomorrah. The cries of the innocent echoed within its walls, and the name of the Lord was scorned. The fire that descended was no mere display of wrath, it was a profound warning to all who would dare turn from righteousness. The weight of his word settled over them, the truth penetrating deeply into Lot's heart. "As it is written," he murmured as if recalling scripture, "for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men." Romans 1 verse 18. The corruption consumed them, but we must not dwell solely on their destruction. Instead, we must learn from their fall. The evening shadows grew longer, and a tranquility enveloped the group, yet an unsettling stillness warned of the storm within. Lot's spirit wrestled with divine purpose, aware that the countenance of God was not simply one of mercy but also of justice. "Ruth," he said, turning toward his daughter, the road we travel will not be without challenges. The Lord has called us to establish a new lineage, a people set apart. Are you ready to face any trials that may come? Yes, Father, she replied with fire in her eyes, with our faith as our sword, I shall not waver. Lot smiled, but uncertainty lingered. He sought wisdom constantly, wrestling with the visions bestowed upon him. As the stars began to pierce the twilight, shining brightly above, a heavy cloud swept into view, dark and swirling. The wind howled ominously, and an otherworldly hush fell upon them. Suddenly, a radiant figure split the night, clothed in the very light of heaven. It was an angel of the Lord. "Fear not," the angel declared, his voice like the sound of many waters. "I am sent to impart truth and guidance. Know that the Lord remembers his covenant with Abraham and has plans for you and your descendants. The path you tread is fraught with peril, but there is hope for those who cling to righteousness." Lot fell to his knees, awestruck by the divine messenger. "What say you, O Lord? How shall we fulfill your purpose? Behold, I declare, the nation that rises from the ashes of your faith will bear witness to my glory. They will be a light to the nations, a remnant to beckon the lost back to grace. Yet, trials shall refine them like silver, and they will need courage to confront the darkness of the world." The angel prophesied. Ruth and Zor listened intently, hearts pounding in rhythm with the angel's words. The prophecy unfurled before them like a radiant banner, revealing hints of battles yet to come and promises woven into the very tapestry of time. As the angel spoke, the shadows lifted, and the sky brightened momentarily. Lot's heart swelled with hope, yet trepidation gripped him, for alongside the promise lay the weight of challenges that would test their faith in ways unknown. In that profound moment, the angel concluded, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths." Proverbs 3 verses 5-6. With these last words echoing in their souls, the figure vanished into the luminous night, leaving the trio with an overwhelming sense of divine purpose coupled with a foreboding on the horizon. What trials were destined to test their resolve, and what further mysteries lay within the depths of God's sovereign plan? The heart of divine adventure lay just beyond their grasp, poised to rise through the fires of faith and trial. As the dawn emerged, casting its gentle glow upon the hills, Lot and his daughters stood at the threshold of a new beginning. The chill of the night faded, replaced by the warmth of promise as reflection gave way to revelation. Something monumental lay before them, a path still shrouded in mystery yet intertwined with the legacy of God's covenant. "Though we have journeyed from ruin, we must remain steadfast," Lot declared, resolute amidst uncertainty. "We have witnessed the might of God's judgment, but also the unequivocal nature of his mercy. Now, we must embrace the purpose for which we are saved from Sodom." With hearts now ignited by anticipation, they turned their gaze toward the horizon, eager to take hold of the divine assurance that lauded their faithfulness. Lot approached a knoll overlooking the verdant landscape below, the valley ripe with potential. "Here is where we shall dwell among the remnants of life, where rivers stretch, and the land calls us back to righteousness." As they settled amidst the newly transformed land, vibrant with promise, solace enveloped them, its essence wrapping them in the assurance of God's mind. Miriam and Ruth, filled with purpose, embarked to gather sustenance and resources. Each footstep marked an affirmation of their commitment to cultivate what God had entrusted to them. "Father, will we talk of what we witnessed?" Ruth ventured as they sat, their ministrations briefly succumbing to the urge to recount the past. Lot's heart ached at the thought, "Let us speak of it only to learn, not to dwell." In reflection, we must consider the choices that led us beyond destruction and dedicate ourselves to righteousness. We are now vessels for renewal, destined to rebuild what was lost. As seasons turned and years unfurled their tapestry, Lot and his daughters thrived, their spirits nourished by prayer and devotion. They tended to the land sowing seeds of hope in soil that once bore witness to despair. And through obedience, they began to find favor and purpose, the promise of God coursing through their veins. One evening, as the stars adorned the vast expanse, they gathered to worship. The shadows of past calamity loomed at the edges of their minds, yet, here, amidst their newfound peace, they tasted the sweetness of grace. From the ashes of judgment, God has birthed life, Lot proclaimed, filled with emotion. Let our song be a testament to His glory and mercy, for we are the living promise. Just then, the angel of the Lord appeared once more, radiant and maternal in light. Your faith has not gone unnoticed, beloved children. For from you shall come a flow of nations, a lineage of righteousness that shall reflect my splendor. Lot knelt, gratitude flooding his heart. What must we do to fulfill this charge? Continually uphold truth and righteousness, even when trials loom on the horizon, the angel commanded with authority that stilled the air. Your future shall not be without tribulations. Yet fear not, for within your trials lies the strength of character and resolve that will fully embody my promise. Teach your children to walk in the ways of the Lord, instill in them the legacy of faith. Before the angel could depart, Lot spoke with fervor, O Lord, what shall we name this land? What identifies this place of remembrance? It shall be called Hope's Haven, for those who seek refuge will find solace under its sky. As the angel ascended, illuminating the night with divine brilliance, the family understood that they had been entrusted with a sacred mission. They would cultivate faith amidst the ashes, watering the land with obedience and worship. Their lives had transformed from mere survivors of judgment into active participants in God's redemptive story. Thus, from the remnants of Sodom, through trials and triumphs, Lot and his daughters became a beacon of righteousness. As generations unfolded, the story of their faith intertwined with those who would follow, binding their legacy of hope across nations, a divine promise blooming in the light of salvation. In time, the echo of their devotion would resound, bearing witness that even in the shadows of despair, God's grace reigns eternal, unveiling the glory that rises from the ashes of destruction. And as they began to flourish in Hope's Haven, the command of the angel rang true, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and He will guide your paths. Therefore, beloved, as you reflect upon their journey, remember, no darkness can extinguish the light of hope. Embrace the journey of faith that is unfolding within you, for God's purpose is mighty, and His grace abounds. Now, let us echo this call. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and not miss the next powerful biblical stories. Leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm, for together we can share the truth of His love. Comment your spiritual reflections and let us know how this biblical story impacted your faith. Your voice matters. And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Send this video to at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. Together, let us foster a community rooted in faith, urgency, and divine hope.